It's just an old video. We are on the afternoon break of the first day of questioning of the undercover police officer, Jim Boyling, who used the cover name Jim Sutton, code name Psycho Dream, HN14, who infiltrated animal rights groups, Earth First, significantly reclaimed the streets, deceived at least 3 women into intimate personal relationships, including having 2 children by one of them. I'm joined by Zoe Young from the Campaign Opposing Police Surveillance. We've heard a lot of absolute fucking nonsense from Jim Boyling over the last hour and a half. This afternoon. One of the things which everybody was muttering about just as we walked out was that he claimed that in one of his reports, it should be remembered that the Reclaim the Streets were not just an environmental organization, they were revolutionaries who named themselves after the famous Russian revolutionary adage, in order to claim power, you must first reclaim the streets. Well, I'm sure you all must remember that famous quote.
Never heard it in my life before. And I was involved in Reclaim the Streets on and off over about 10 years, and that is literally the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously nonsense. I mean, I always thought that they actually came from the conflict lyric. Off screen, we've also joined by Jessica. Do you want to say hello?
Yes.
What have you made of what you had to say this afternoon?
Well, I don't believe him. And it's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine.
Strange.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a tell. I think when he's lying, he gets very verbose and it's on and on and on. And so the sort of legal privilege, we didn't know legal privilege and that, it's been pointed out that he actually, by that time, he had a law degree before he was deployed from Cardiff University. So I think he actually really did know what legal privilege was.
Yeah, there's a lot about the illegal professional privilege. We've done a whole number of reports, including the full pack, witness pack from Mike Schwartz from the action against the Department of Transport, which was done in conjunction with a tube workers' strike, where Reclaim the Streets activists went into the building. And Jim Boyling, along with a number of others, got arrested. We saw a whole bunch of paperwork that suggested basically that DCI Edmondson and the whole of the Spy Cops management were very pleased that Jim Boyling got arrested. They saw that this furthered his deployment. And when he actually was charged, they were a bit concerned. But when he managed to appear in court as a witness and get acquitted, they were all incredibly pleased with it. It was seen as a job well done.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very interesting kind of farrago of lies and truth and misrepresentation. And I mean, he's actually made some quite perceptive comments, it seems, in his reporting, including, for example, reporting that when Reclaim the Streets were allowed to end their event themselves and ourselves and just go home, that there was no disorder. But when the police came and started pushing people around, trying to clear the streets, that's when you got people fighting, because the riot police turned up, so there was a riot.
This was in reference to the Brighton Reclaim the Streets, which he refers to in his report as a running battle.
I know
Well, then he was asked to describe how was it a running battle. He said, the police attacked the crowd repeatedly, and then there was some missiles were thrown back, and there was some criminal damage. And then he was taken to part of his report where it said that there was remarkably little criminal damage. To which he went, the McDonald's or something like that got damaged.
Yeah, I mean, I was there. I was a legal observer. I was, funnily enough, trained by Keir Starmer to be a legal observer on Reclaim the Streets after the police started getting more and more involved in manhandling and pushing people around on them. And yeah, it started off absolutely fine, but then they were trying to hem us in, and then they started pushing us up against plate glass windows, and people started getting freaked out and trying to get out. And that's when it started getting hectic. And yeah, like, it was chaos all over Brighton, and it really didn't need to be. So, he made accurate comments to a degree. That the inquiry lawyer kept saying, so is this you giving advice to your superiors by saying, if you don't push people around, you don't get disorder? And it's like, but then it was clearly, if he was giving that advice, it wasn't being taken, because, or that was just part of the information that they used, which was then used to create more disorder around Reclaim the Streets, because they clearly thought that we were sort of communist revolutionaries in league with the Russian revolutionaries.
When in reality, anarchist revolutionaries, slightly different.
Well, but not everyone was at all, initially at least, in Reclaim the Streets. It literally, I was involved in the first one in Brighton years before any of this, and I just didn't think it was a great idea. I was very young, and I thought, oh, you know, it'll block the ambulances and all the lines that you get now in the tabloids around Just Stop Oil, etc. And then I went away and came back, and the group had carried on and organised it anyway. And I went along, and it was bloody lovely. It was all kids playing in sand pits and bands playing, and it was absolutely sweet. And it went away after a few hours, and you know, we'd made our point. We should have more kids and clean air and flower pots on the street. And but over the time, it became more and more kind of, I don't know, more and more people who wanted to fight the police got involved because the police kept making it into a fighting situation, and fewer kids came along.
We saw the reports from the Reclaim the Future event, which was in '96 in Liverpool. This is when the Reclaim the Streets linked up with the Liverpool Dockers, which was, I think, a really important part of a British industrial dispute history. One of the plans there was to blockade the railway line as it went into the docks with scaffolding poles. Jim Boyling reported on this to Bob Lambert a few hours before it was due to happen, and that whole plan was foiled. But as we've heard a few times, there were lots of other things that were done that weekend, including like damaging, cutting through fences, which Jim Boyling was, oh yeah, I did that. We heard similar things when he was talking about the M41 protest, where he said that on the M41 street party, a lot of stolen items were used as part of it. And he said, how do you know they were stolen? Well, I stole them. That was like scaffolding poles and seating and various other things.
Yeah, I mean, I was at both of those events and I didn't know anything about any of that. I wasn't involved in stealing stuff. I just wanted clean air.
Well, maybe if you'd have stolen some stuff, we wouldn't have had the undercover cop having to do it. And maybe we should have pulled your finger out.
Yeah, I mean, he actually made some quite apposite comments as well about the Liverpool Dockers stuff.
One was a really short. We haven't got very long.
Yes. Just one being, well, it was a really early Earth First action at Liverpool Docks where we were approached by dockers saying, "Hey, you guys, you can shut the docks down. This was like '92. Where were you when we were having industrial action?" And you know, we brought that conversation into the eco movement for years. He was also saying that we were actually attacked quite badly by the police in Liverpool, and they really targeted the London Reclaim the Streets and Earth First people so that we wouldn't do this again. And I personally was grabbed out of a crowd by like paramilitary guys who were dragging me one way and all my mates dragging me the other way. Yeah, well, presumably. I don't know what they were. They were all in black and they were not nice.
We're being signaled that things are restarting, so we need to go. It's only a short break. Thanks for joining. Please like, share all this stuff. We're doing a longer video at the end of the day. Thanks for joining.
Cheers. Bye.